Hey friend, do you have a large dog and you worry that you may not be able to bring that pet with you to Panama because of its size? In this video, we're going to tell you how you can make it happen. Keep watching. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Single Women Retiring Abroad. My name is Maggie Lazar, and I am your host. And I am joined today by Marla from Pets Go Global. Hello, Marla.
Hello, Maggie. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for agreeing to this recording with me. I was explaining to you a bit earlier about my journey and why we are doing these videos. So could you take a minute and introduce yourself to our viewers so that they know who you are and maybe a bit about Pets Go Global?
Sure, of course. My name is Marla Paul. I'm a Canadian who transplanted via some other countries down to Panama. And in 2010, because there was no place to board dogs, I ended up opening a vacation kennels for dogs. And we used to host, and well, still do host pets coming into Panama and going out that were relocating. And one of the major relocation companies a few years ago, back in 2014, came to Panama and asked if I would start shipping for them. So that's how I did some research. And in 2015, we opened Pets Go Global. And we are a certified IPATA, pet relocation company. And we were the first company in Panama to be BOAS certified, which is for the brachiocephalics or snub-nosed dogs.
Oh, what is that? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Snub-nosed dogs, mostly what people know as English bulldogs, French bulldogs, that they're very difficult to transport because some of them have a obstructed airway, and that can cause breathing issues and things like that. So most airlines won't ship them. So IPATA has spent the last about 7 years coming up with research to prove that this is not really an issue for the majority of pets. So we've come up with a Fit to Fly program, and all of different people in IPATA like myself have gone through the training so that we're now trained to recognize which pets would be safe to travel and which ones are at risk. And we have a bit.
You do a screening when somebody makes a referral and asks.
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the major reasons for me doing this is people transport their pets all the time. But the questions I've been hearing is, I have a 35-pound dog, and then the airline will not, or they don't want him to go in cargo. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit later in the video because that is a concern. And of course, what we want to do is give people answers to questions they may have. I'm a nurse, but I know nothing about specialty dogs or senior dogs. I've had a few dogs through the years, but I'm really a cat person myself. But which is great. And of course, Panama people, they love their dogs here. Everybody pretty much has a dog. So when you get a referral, I know you do the screening. What types of pets do you relocate? Is it just cats and dogs, or do you relocate other animals?
The majority of the pets we do are dogs and cats, of course, but we've done snakes, we've done gold-crested geckos, we've done macaws, we've done parrots, we've done horses, we've done ferrets, we've done bunny rabbits. So it just depends what somebody wants to relocate. Frogs, we did 120 poisonous dart frogs for the Smithsonian. Yeah, so.
Wow, what an interesting life you lead.
Yeah, we love what we do. We really do.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I remember when I was in college, actually, no, I was working with this nurse and her daughter was going to college, and it was a big to do because she was moving to another state and she had a horse.
Yeah.
So they had to figure out how to take the horse, not on campus, of course, but somewhere closer to her that on the weekend she can go ride it. It was so interesting. Okay, so what are some of the things that could make it impossible for you to accept a pet for relocation? Besides not being well, maybe physically, what are some other things? You said that the airway issue with the short-nosed dog is not really an issue. What are some of the reasons that you might say, I don't think it's going to work?
One of our, at Petsco Global, we make it work. We find a solution. So the only time it wouldn't work is if the pet is not well. If the pet is too elderly, then we don't think it would make the trip, and a vet agrees, or there's just physical ailments that prohibit the dog from traveling, or the cat. But other than that, we always find an airline. We always find a way. It might be a fly drive or a drive fly, but somehow, some way, we'll get that pet there.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. So can you give us an idea about how many of the pets, maybe let's say you relocate in a month, or do you have some months where you're busier than others?
Yes, usually at the end of school year or during the December, January, because Panama has a lot of the Fortune 5 companies are based there. So there's a lot of relocations of management moving in and out. And so, of course, that's a busy time for us. Summer's extremely busy. People relocating with their families, both going out and coming in. And then we've built a good reputation. So if I moved your pets to Accra, I just moved some pets out of Accra again that I moved into Accra 3 years ago, and things like that. Yeah.
That's good. So when you say summer, with us here, we're like, what is summer? It's like rainy season or dry season. So
I guess the summer months from
the west?
Yeah, from probably May through September. I mean, we can be moving 10 pets a day or 10 pets a week. It just depends on who's going when and where. And yeah, it's always done during the week. We don't ship animals on weekends.
Okay. Is there a reason why?
Because if we flew an animal on a Friday and something happened and there was a complication with the plane and the flight was canceled, they really have nowhere to. Some of the airports wouldn't have a place to put the pets. I mean, several have pet hotels. That's not an issue. But so to minimize any risks for animals, we fly them during the week so that if something happens on a Thursday, we can put them on a Friday flight. If something happens on a Tuesday, we can still put them on a Wednesday flight. So.
I was reading an article about what they're talking about scheduling the flights during the week and also getting the paperwork, which is what I'm going to lead into. It seems like it's a lot of work and confusion for the owners if they're not using a service like yours to figure out all the different papers that they need to. Can you kind of briefly go over what they have to have?
Yes, it depends where they're coming from and where they're going to. If they're coming into Panama, they need to have all of the vaccinations of the dog or the cat, and they need to be current. If it's a rabies vaccination, it needs to be at least 30 days old if it's the first time they've been vaccinated, or if there's been a lapse since the last vaccination. Then they need to have a health certificate. That health certificate needs to be apostilled by the Panamanian consulate in the country of origin. If they don't have a consulate, then they need to take it to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that's a requirement. Coming into Panama, they have to send a application for home quarantine with all the supporting documents, the vaccination records, the health certificate, the copy of the passport, the address of origin, the address of destination, and that needs to be sent to MINSA 3 days prior, a minimum of 3 days prior to arrival.
Wow. And I was reading something about that. The vet has to be approved by some organization. Is that the USDA or something?
No. For going out of Panama, there's some countries that do require that the government vet has to authenticate the documents. But for coming into Panama, we just require that be a veterinarian that's, working in that country. So.
I mean, if they have an office, so they got all the requirements. Well, that's good. Well, to me, it sounds like it would be a lot easier to just hire somebody to do all that legwork. Do you do all that legwork up front, or does the owner still have to get the papers to you?
It depends. It depends on where you are and who's doing the work. For us, we always initiate the paperwork. We take the pets to the vet and get the vet check and then do all of the documentation, make sure that way we know it's done correctly. We do hear horror stories all the time where somebody uses documents that were 6 years old or they didn't cross the T, they put the wrong rabies vaccination on, they put a wrong date on. And believe me, if they don't cross the T's and dot the I's correctly, some of these countries will just set the pets back.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So when you say you take the vet to get the vet check, but let's say you in Dubai right now, and then somebody call you out of Paris. You got people all over the world to do that
Yes.
kind of the legwork.
Yeah, we have a big network in 450 countries, so I'm pretty well connected. And through the years, I know most of these people personally, so I know who to use and who not to use, and yeah.
That's so cool. I'm so impressed right now because I know that could be a big issue. Um, we talked about the types of pets. Now, for the crux of this conversation, you talk about you relocate horses, so obviously not on a plane, I guess.
Yes, on a plane.
Yeah?
Yeah, you have to put them on a plane. They don't swim
I
across.
thought wow, okay. Wow, that's another conversation. I'd love to see a horse getting on a plane and how does that work?
They call it
So
a pallet. They build 3 stalls. It's called a pallet, and it holds 3 horses. And regardless whether you're shipping 1 horse or 3, you pay the same price for the pallet. They load the horses onto the pallet, and it's one of the few transports that actually take a groom travels with the horses. It depends. KLM sometimes will have an entire plane, just a freighter plane, just full of horses, especially during show jumping season or horse racing season. Yeah, it's quite
That is
good to see.
amazing. Oh, yeah. That's amazing. So, do most airlines transport horses then?
No, it takes specific freighters mostly you have to have. So there's airlines that are specific for that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to just the cats and the dogs.
Okay.
Are there particular airlines that you use, or any airline can transport the animal?
The airlines that we use are determined by the city of origin or destination that you're using, because post-COVID, we have very few options. We don't have Lufthansa coming into Panama anymore, which was a great option to go to Europe. So if we want to fly on Lufthansa, we have to send pets to San Jose in Costa Rica and connect with Lufthansa there. We use KLM out of Panama. We use Copa out of Panama. We use Avianca, Iberia, Air France, Air Europa. So we have a lot of different choices. For dogs that are smaller than a German Shepherd, or depending on the size, so they'll fit in a crate. But any crates that are at least 83 centimeters or more taller, we have few airlines that will take those outside of Panama. So,
well, let's think about because most of the people who watch me are from the U.S.
Okay.
You know, I need to travel to the U.S., Thailand.
Okay.
Are there airlines flying to and from the U.S. to Panama that will take pets?
Yes, Copa is working out of six of their cities right now allow pets in or out. Right now, Austin, Texas, and Las Vegas have been shut down because of heat embargoes. So there, we can't ship pets to or from those cities right now. Those will take dogs again up to, and it's not a weight. A lot of owners think that it's based on weight. It's actually based on the cubic volume of the crate. And the crate must be, by live animal regulations, it must be the length of the dog from the tip of the nose to the base of the tail, plus 1/2 of the length of the front leg. Because we all know that when a dog lays down, it stretches out its front legs, and it should be able to lay down comfortably in the crate. It also should be able to stand, and there should be space between the top of its head and the crate. And if it has erect ears, then it needs to be a space above the erect ears. And if that is 83 centimeters or less, COPA will fly it. And if it's 83.5 centimeters or more, COPA will no longer take those. So our only option is to fly them on DHL or a freighter from Avianca from Panama into Miami.
And I was seeing that they have some new services just for pets. What was I reading about? Something like Bark to Fly or something.
Oh,
and
Bark.
well, I see the eyes, and it's just so expensive to,
Well,
like $8,000 to fly a dog.
um, I sit on the fence with private charters because I think it's fabulous that if you can afford it, that they can take your pets. But I don't know if you're familiar with about a month ago, the bad turbulence in Singapore where a person actually died. It, think about that situation if you had dogs in the plane that were not strapped in and were not in a crate. What would have happened to those animals? So
Wow.
it's to me that's not safe. I know people we put our emotions on our pets and blah blah blah, but I often say to clients too, have you ever sat on a plane and two rows behind you there's a screaming kid for the whole hour that you're on a flight, or you have the wonderful pilot who's Mr. Chatty and every time you doze off to sleep he wants to tell you about what's out this window or what the temperature is or how, and our hearing is not as sensitive as a dog. So you can imagine a poor dog or cat on a plane with that constant.
Yeah.
I see the people. I see their and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people have a misconception about cargo. I've flown my own family of pets 4 different times internationally. I've never had an issue.
I know. Now we have dogs running down the aisle,
Yes,
pooping, and it's crazy.
yeah.
But anyway, so I think what you're saying is that really the crate size is something that, oops, did I do anything?
No,
If somebody were if somebody were to ask you, you would kind of direct them as to what size crate they need to get, because sometimes we can buy something that is so big it's not even necessary for the dog.
exactly. Right. We always,
Right?
yeah, we do pet measurement, and we also, if clients aren't sure and they're in Panama City, we ask them to come to our offices in Costa Sur Plaza and literally try on a crate like they would a dress. Come in, let's try on the crate. You don't want it too big because then, of course, you're paying extra that you don't need to be paying because your freight charges are based on that cubic volume. But you want your pet to be comfortable and secure. So.
Okay, so we talked about, like I said, the main reason for this talk is for people who are worried about if they have a large dog, a Great Dane or something like that, and they're like, I'm worried that I can't bring the dog with me. What you're saying is if COPA, based on their regulations, say that the crate will disqualify this dog for flying, then you can give them
Yes.
other options,
Yes.
like you said, DHL and maybe some other
Yeah,
carriers.
Northern, DHL, yeah, Avianca. We have several choices out of Miami. Yeah.
Mhm. So they should not feel like because of the size of the dog that they can't. All
No,
they
no.
need to do is
We're actually bringing two Great Danes. There's a family of 5 dogs. Two of the Great Danes, they're as big as a small pony. We've had to build custom crates for them, and they're going to Bocas del Toro. So we're going to take them to El Morante and then a little boat trip over to the island. But yeah, and we've got a big wolfhound that we're quoting right now that's in Canada. And oh my gosh, that dog is massive. So, I mean,
I know this dog can be scary. It's okay. So I'm glad to hear to let them know that just because you have a large dog doesn't mean you cannot. They just need to make sure they're calling the professionals to get direction.
yeah.
All right, in the short time that we have left, can you give me kind of an idea as to what the cost might be? And again, thinking of a city in the US, somebody that's in California versus New York or Atlanta to Panama City.
It's really hard because no two moves are the same. So it depends on if they have a crate, if they're in LA and they can fly in a smaller crate to Panama. Obviously, it would be less expensive the closer they are to the airport that they can fly from. Um, an example, we try to be very careful with our clients' budgets. And an example, I was giving you that large wolfhound.
Yeah.
I don't know yet if the client will approve the move, but we're going to quote from the Canadian border of Alberta, so above, above, I don't know, but anyways, all the way to Miami, so approximately $2,300 just in land transport. But that's actually quite reasonable when you think of it's going pretty much East Coast to West Coast almost.
To Panama City.
Yeah. No, not to Panama City. That's going to get to Miami. Then we're going to fly it out of Miami. But it's
so another what, 500, another 1,000?
Yeah, it'll be another couple thousand by the time it's got a custom crate, and because it's so big, and yeah.
But and an average dog, for example, let's say a 20-pounder would be around 2,000.
It depends if the client, if we have to do the USDA endorsed certificate, if we do the apostille, if we provide the crates, if we do everything, and if we do the customs clearance and then delivery in Panama, it can be anywhere from 1,700 to 3,000. It just depends on a lot of it.
That's a good range. You know, if people want to do a lot of the legwork, they can. But to me, I would feel more comfortable just making sure somebody is doing it to get all the teeth, you know, and everything done so that you don't run into trouble. Because people, you know, that's their family members and they're very attached to their dog.
Yes, so, and things change. Like the U.S. has changed their regulations for coming in effective August 1st. So fortunately, Panama is not on the bad rabies list. So we're one of the few countries that are allowed to freely send dogs into the US, but now we're still going to have to get an import permit, and we're going to have government authentication of our travel documents. So that's an extra step.
So if people have more questions, they can just go to your website that is petgoglobal.com.
Yes. And then on our website, we also have a request an estimate in English or Spanish, and that's free of charge. That'd give them an accurate idea based on today. Some people are asking us, you know, they want to know what it costs today, and they're not moving a year from now. So we tell them this is based on today's costs, but it'll give you an idea so you can budget. And then, or there's a little space there just to ask a question. There's another, just they can send a comment to us as well.
And just this last question, I know our time is going. What is the timeline? What is a reasonable timeline from the time that you accept, you know, you're going to take this dog to delivery?
Okay, Panama will actually accept documents that are dated 30 days prior to arrival, but it's the airlines who have a regulation of 10 days. So what we suggest to clients, if they're coming from the US, is they meet up with their USDA vet. They can do a vet check before, but we want the USDA health certificate endorsed no more than 10 days before they arrive in Panama. I prefer to tell them to do 8 days because that gives them a day or two in case there's a cancellation or a delay with their flight. Because if they're right on 10 days and they come in on the 11th day, the airline will refuse and saying that their documents have expired. So if they can, I know it's tight for people, especially if they have to get an apostille, but yeah. And then leave Panama, we need 10 days to leave Panama. So.
Got it. Okay, well, I don't want to run out of time, and I certainly want to thank you, Marla, for all this information. I don't have a pet right now. I was going to go to the Peace Corps to South Africa.
If you want a kitty, I can sure get one for you. I do a lot with rescues and adoptions. So.
Not right now. I'll be traveling a lot too. So, but I do want to thank you for the information. And you sound like a veteran. You know your stuff. And if people have any questions, I would encourage them to go to the website and, you know, pose their question, review the information. When there's a will, there's a way. If it needs to be done, Marla is going to make sure it's done. So thank you so very much.
Enjoyed meeting and talking with you.
When you're in Panama.
Okay.
Can you just, you know, end it for me and then see how we can get that file over?
Okay, will do. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Chances are, if you're visiting Panama City, whether you're on a tour or you're walking around, you're gonna see this building in the distance or really up close. It's gorgeous, it's twisted. It's a 52-story marvel of architecture that was built here in 2011, and it is eye-catching. So if you're ever in Panama City, make sure you walk by. You're gonna be in awe. Discovering Panama with Maggie.
El Tornillo, the F&F Tower.